Bekleyelim bakalım ne olacak. Böyle güzel bir haber gelsin ya. Güzel bir haber gelsin. I am in live. That's what we need. What? Okay, if you want to come, you can come, but I do live on YouTube. Okay. It's good. We can do something like this. Piyasanız çok fena çekiliyoruz mu ya? Hayır ya. Ne çekiliyoruz, ne çekiliyoruz? Trump konuşacak. Piyasayı. Bir şeyler söyledi dostum Trump. Söylüyor. Şeyler bizim ondan mesela abi. Sağ ol. OBS'ten mesela. OBS'ten yayın açarsın. Ekran falan yok. Böyle ekran yok. Let's do something like this. Let's do the second. Bir dakika arkadaşlar, OBS'ten gireceğim ya. OBS'ten girersem daha iyi olacak. Ekran paylaşabiliyoruz aslında. Peki ekran paylaştığımda mesela ekran paylaşalım abi, sıkıntı yok. Neden paylaşamıyoruz? O paylaştığında geldi mi? Geldi. Okey. View tab. Şu an paylaşım açık. Okey. Paylaşmayı durdur. Bayağı basit bir şekilde paylaşım yapabiliyoruz ya. Sıkıntı yok. Okey. Fuck. Evet.
Economies of the Europeans and even our adversaries in World War II. So whether it was Germany, or Japan, or the British, we took an economic hit to allow your economies to rebuild and to thrive. We did the same thing with security, the NATO alliance. We pay for about 75% of the cost of NATO. We did it intentionally because we didn't want another world war. We did it with the assumption that if our friends and former adversaries could have modernized, sophisticated economies, we'd be trading partners, but we would never go to war. But those agreements were never meant to be permanent. Those tariffs, so that if a tariff is a tax, if the United States charges very little for European or Japanese or whatever Chinese,
we've run out of time. Yeah, we're run out of time. So just finally, I mean, he's threatening 25%. I see here on the EU. Does the UK escape this? Because I mean, trade-wise, we're pretty balanced. Do we escape this?
Well, I think Donald Trump has said in his first term that he would love a US-UK trade agreement.
Right. Well, we'll see. Well, let's see if one happens pretty soon. Katie McFarlane, appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Right. Let's go live to Washington and correspondent David Blevins. So, David, we're waiting for some big investment announcement, and knowing Donald Trump, he'll also talk about Ukraine, and he's already made these his thoughts clear on Truth Social by saying this, or more criticism of Zelensky and also this criticism of Europe.
Yes, I think we are likely to hear more on Ukraine from him this afternoon. He's not one to shy away from the questions, of course. He did earlier this morning on his Truth Social platform point out that he was not very impressed by an Associated Press report quoting President Zelensky as suggesting the end of the war was still a very, very long way off. The president said that's the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer. But he then went on to talk about the meeting European leaders had at the weekend and said they admitted that they couldn't do the job without the US. Probably not a great statement to have made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? I have to tell you, Mark, as well, he has gone a little further in the last few minutes, posting again on Truth Social. Europe has spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine by far. So that suggests President Trump is a bit irked, to say the least, by the developments over the weekend when European leaders came together and clearly indicated that they were prepared to support Zelensky in the manner they did. In fact, they committed more military aid. That comes up as President Trump meets right now with his national security team, with one of the potentials on the agenda that America will suspend its military aid to Ukraine altogether. That would be extraordinary. We do expect to hear from him shortly. He's also, as you point out, going to talk about investment. We understand that's going to be a $100 billion investment over 4 years by the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing company. And it comes, of course, amid all of this speculation regarding tariffs, whether or not he will, as you've been discussing with your guest, be imposing further tariffs on Canada, on Mexico, and on China in the next 24 hours.
And just on the events of Friday, David, I mean, there's been a lot of anger, displeasure here about the way Volodymyr Zelensky was treated. How has it all gone down with the American public?
Well, to some extent, it's predictable in that the Democrats are absolutely horrified on Capitol Hill that President Trump is, in their words, attacking the democracies of the world and aligning himself with dictators, a reference to Vladimir Putin, in their opinion. But they're not quite sure how to deal with it. Some want to hit back. Others just want to sit back and see how this all plays out. Many people have pointed out the deafening silence, for example, by former Presidents Clinton, Obama, and Biden. But Republicans on Capitol Hill and around the United States are absolutely standing by their man. They believe that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, the vice president, took the right approach by adopting the line they did with President Zelensky in the Oval Office on Friday. And I suppose that polarization was played out most starkly at the weekend in Vermont, where the vice president was skiing, and there were counter demonstrations. Some Republicans there with their Make America Great Again flags, tooting their horns. And on the other hand, you had people across the road with posters opposing the direction of travel. In fact, one man even going as far as to ask J.D. Vance how it felt to be Putin's puppet. So all of this illustrates just how polarized, again, America is, and even in relation to the issue of Moscow, which is extraordinary when you consider that we're talking about one of its oldest enemies.
Okay, David, thank you very much. Well, earlier I spoke to Sir Laurie Bristow, who was the UK's ambassador to Russia, and I asked him if he thinks the Kremlin is enjoying this turmoil between the US and Ukraine.
I think what this demonstrates, and in particular what happened in the Oval Office last Friday, just demonstrates how some things are much, much better handled behind closed doors than in front of television cameras, in between presidents. Of course, the Kremlin are enjoying this a great deal, and if you follow the Kremlin state-controlled media, it's pretty clear that they think they just had a very good couple of days. I mean, you'll have seen that former President Medvedev talked about Mr. Zelensky being slapped down in the Oval Office The Russian propaganda machine is talking up divisions within NATO. It's also talking up US-Russia bilateralism. But it's really important to understand why they're doing that. I mean, I think that everybody wants the war to end. Everybody wants a ceasefire. But the thing we must understand and keep in mind is that for Mr. Putin, it's on his terms. And what those terms are is essentially Ukraine's capitulation.
And the Moscow, judging from what their spokesman was saying today, seemed to be jumping on this as Washington and Moscow versus Zelensky, the Kremlin spokesman, talking about the fragmentation of the collective West. Why is Trump allowing this to happen in this way?
Well, I really can't answer that question, for Mr. Trump, but I think it's worth setting out things that might be going on here. So in terms of Russia's objectives in Ukraine, I don't see that Mr. Putin's objectives have changed in the slightest since the beginning of the war. Obviously, he wants to destroy Ukraine if possible, certainly to subjugate it to Russia if destroying it isn't possible. He wants to recreate a sphere of influence in Central and Eastern Europe. He wants to decouple the United Europe's security, but he also wants to cut the United States down to size. And I think the idea, if there is an idea in the White House that you can do a mutually advantageous deal with Mr. Putin, well, look, you can't. He doesn't keep his promises. And I think Mr. Trump and the White House really need to remember that.
Is Zelensky right when he says that he doesn't think Putin is serious about a deal and hence is far?
Bence genel olarak şu anda Amerika zaten rezerv yapmaya çalıştığı için adamların ellerinde zaten Bitcoin yok. Büyük şirketler var. BlackRock, işte Vanguard, bunlar falan var. Okey. Michael Saylor var. Bu adamlarda deli gibi Bitcoin var ama orana baktığında çok küçük kalıyor. Sen koskoca ülkenin, yani Amerika zaten çok büyük bir ülke. Dünyada şu anda 1. sırada. Sen bunun Bitcoin'e national rezerv yapıyorsun. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, ADA. Bu adamların para ihtiyacı var bunları almak için. Ne yapsın yani, şirketleri borsada hisseleri satacak halleri yok bu adamların, bir şekilde para yapması lazım. Tak tak vuruyorlar piyasaya aşağı. Önceden biliyor zaten ne konuşacağını. Short açıyor, long açıyor, yapıyor bir şeyler, eşek değil. Şimdi bu şirketleri içine almaya başladılar. Şirketlerin bazıları zarardaydı. Adamlar artık onları temize çekmeye çalışıyor. Bildiğin Trump bunu oynamaya başladı. Şirket zarardaysa diyor ki gel bize diyor. Biz diyor insider bilgi vereceğiz sana. Ama diyor belli bir Bitcoin'in rezervini bize entegre edeceksin. Bu kadar basit. Çok büyük para duruyor. Ethereum şu anda ne oldu? 2100'e kadar düştü yine. Tepeden yine satmadık. Bak orada bir toplayacağız alttan. Yapacak bir şey yok. Alttan toplamaya devam. Dur bakalım başka haber var mı?
Its navy has essentially been neutralized in the Black Sea. But also, really embarrassingly for Putin, Ukrainian forces are holding Russian territory in the Kursk region. This is telling us something about Russia's weaknesses, and we should be exploiting those weaknesses as a preparation for looking for a ceasefire.
Right, well, that's interesting. So, because the pressure doesn't seem to be on Russia from the United States at the moment, but you think the real pressure on Putin could come from within his own country in terms of the economy and so forth. I mean, is there a sign? I know it's looking more and more like a war economy, effectively, but is there signs in the near future that he's going to really struggle with the economy?
I don't see a threat to Putin's regime in the near future. I think the real task for us over the coming weeks and months is.
Sen konuş bakayım dostum. Trump announces Taiwan semiconductor firm investment in US. Taiwan invested neyle alakalı? Semiconductor industry. Chips. Hı. $100 billion. 100 billion muhabbeti vardı. Trump adamı kandırıyordu. X 200 bin, 200 billion you can do this falan. Bir şeyler, belki de onun şeyi bu. Ama bakmak. Piyasa ne yaptı? 2100 %100 geldi. Düşmedi. Aşağıya gelmedi. Sıkıntı yok. Oraya düşmediğince problem yok. Ne var mı bende? Lag var mı? Lag falan yok. Yok abi. Hiçbir yerde yok. Bu niye böyle? Nereden bakabiliriz ona başka? News bakalım. USA News. O yalan haber. Sky News boş yapıyor yine. O farklı bir şeyler anlatıyor. No, bro. Ya bunda en çok izleneni izlemek lazım. Bu kadar insan aptal olamıyor. Kafasına girmek lazım da. Onun Türkiye'de örneklerini biz çok yaşadık. Bu kadar insan aptal olabiliyor. Let's see bakalım. Drive President announcement. What? You also heard? I think this is kind of animal screaming. Dışarıda bir şey var da. Bağırmaya başladı hayvan. Şöyle koyayım çayımı da. Gidelim bakalım. Şurada da canlı yayını bir verelim buraya.
I've gone up in the single and such, and it's like, oh boy, like let's take a breath here. But or even like hiking or climbing mountains and such. And I will post those photos online for you, because something I used to do when I was doing mainstream news up in Alaska, I like to go on those big heights, and I actually did a free climb once. It wasn't too long, but yeah, it's.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it was fun. So
I mean, I like Cedar Point. Those of you in Ohio watching right now, Cedar Point, one of the greatest amusement parks with roller coasters. I haven't been in some time, but you wouldn't like.
I don't like roller coasters. Never have.
No, okay. And I'm not going to skydive, and I'm not going to bungee jump though. Because I don't like heights that much.
I might have to try the skydiving. We'll see what happens. We'll post that for you if it does.
All right, that'd be fun. All right, there you go. All right, so it's almost the top of the hour here, 1:55 Eastern. You're watching RSBN Live. Guys, thank you so much for streaming in, hanging here with us as we get ready to go to the White House there and see President Trump with this announcement that'll be happening at any minute now. As we saw on the schedule earlier today, we receive a White House presidential public schedule email to us here at the network, and it said 1:30 that the president would be making an announcement from the Roosevelt Room. So we follow those kind of directives in the sense of the leads of what's going on. And then, of course, it's 1:55. We'll be going there as soon as we can, as soon as we get that feed. Let's go to Free Trump Book in the meantime. freetrumpbook.com. And there are more than just that one right there. There's so many topics, Robert.
Oh, there are a lot to cover. Not only the kid's guide to President Trump, but the kid's guide to the courage of President Trump, and other issues and policy manuals that our young little patriots can understand. Even your apolitical or silly, goofy next door neighbor who might not be paying attention, which how can you not be in a day and age like this? But freetrumpbook.com, running right now, you can get these great gifts for free, just pay shipping and handling, and you get a Christmas ornament. So jump ahead on all of your Christmas shopping and mention the fact that it's free. So yeah, it makes sense.
And speaking of Christmas, so I love Christmas cookies. I like Russian tea cakes. Oh, call me a Russian spy or something.
Oh, you
right?
propagandist.
Oh no! But those, my family calls them, I guess, snow cookies or whatever. But I call them Russian tea cakes. Anyway, so we had some of those yesterday. They were, my wife put them in the freezer from over Christmas time. I didn't even know there were some left.
Oh, surprise!
So she
I haven't been over to the house in a while.
Yeah,
I might
she's
have to
like,
come
"Do you
try
want some cookies?" I'm like, "I want cookies." And then here comes my favorite cookie. But anyway, having this, we're talking about Christmas ornaments. FreeTrumpBook.com, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's almost 2:00, and there's a number of things happening at 2:00 as well, as the First Lady Melania Trump will hold a roundtable discussion. We'll be monitoring when we get all the various feeds that happen. I mean, that's part of being live like we are, where other networks go to all this other stuff. We stick to, hey, this is what we're covering, and especially when it comes to the White House, everything inside the Beltway. It's important information to have the speech from start to finish, just like we did during the rally days. And if there are any more rallies, trust me, we'll be there. Well,
absolutely. It's very essential for you to see, everything the president has to say and other things that are affecting your day-to-day living, here in the United States and around the world as well. And we thank you to those, maybe the international outlets or viewers that might be tuning in, so we could showcase what's actually happening in the United States, because we see that on the rallies. For example, other networks would simply go to after the rally. Maybe there was an agenda, maybe there wasn't, but not showing the crowds. And that's why we jumped in here roughly starting in 2015 to show you what actually was happening on the ground with this natural phenomenon of this businessman who was really well known, especially for his work on The Apprentice and reality TV, to then become the leading presidential candidate and ultimately the 45th and 47th president of the United States. I mean, it's an all-American story.
It is an all-American story. And we're hearing from First Lady Melania Trump 30 minutes ago saying, "Be best. On my way to the Hill to advocate for the Take It Down Act bill. I urge Congress to pass this important legislation to safeguard our youth." So we'll hear more about that. About 30 minutes ago, that from the First Lady on her X page, and then the White House reposting that. We're also seeing a report from WNBC that Pope Francis suffers new breathing crisis, is back on non-invasive ventilation, that according to Vatican, and Breaking 911 posting that with WNBC as well. So following a number of stories here live right now. And later today, of course, we have a number of interviews coming up. We may have to record some of them depending on what's live. But the Christian artist Chris Tomlin will be joining us at about 2:45 Eastern time, depending on what's going on with the live events. And then also a bit later, Harrison Fields, along with the press office at the White House, will be joining us at about 5 Eastern. And again, if we're not live at that time, we will be able to record these interviews and air them the next time we're live, which, the way the news cycle has been, it could be later tonight, could be tomorrow morning.
Right. And we love to give you that deep dive as well with our interviews, especially recently coming off the heels of CPAC and the great opportunities we've had there of interviewing people, even international leaders like Nigel Farage here at the network, so you can hear directly from them how they view things going on in the world, especially with the hot topics of Russia and Ukraine. And I can't wait to see your interview with Harrison. That'll be great, because you might have recognized his great work here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as he joined us for a number of rallies during the campaign season.
Exactly. And of course, looking forward to, if there are any White House press briefings this week, we'll bring that to you live. And any other announcements. I mean, today, this was something that we saw on the president's schedule earlier this morning, that there would be an announcement at 1:30 Eastern. Of course, it's now 2:00, right on the nose there. So as soon as we get that live feed, we'll go to it. And you can see, of course, the First Lady will hold a roundtable discussion. So we'll be able to check out these various live events. And in some cases, if we have to record it or upload it, you'll be able to still see it, whether that's on Rumble or YouTube or wherever you're watching right now. So let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Obviously, the mega sale still happening, and it's always good to have a sale, especially with his great products.
Oh, yes, the My Cross, save 30%. How about a 6-pack of My Towels for $29.98, or those comfortable flannel sheets, $44.98. Give them a call today, 800-836-7566. That is mypillow.com/RSBN. With over 2,000 products available on the website, you can save up to 80% off everything now. So be sure to check them out, and especially that mega sale, because there's no better way to start off your morning than with your prior evening enjoying MyPillow products.
Yeah, there's so many awesome products with mypillow.com. So just go to mypillow.com/RSBN for up to 80% off of everything. It's always fun to peruse all those kind of things. You know, with things like Amazon and all that too, it's hard not to sometimes just keep swiping, but you gotta save money too. So it's an interesting dynamic there. But mypillow.com, definitely, if you purchase anything using that RSBN promo code, indirectly we get some of that, because it's a great partnership, and it's awesome to have people that donate to this network as well.
Yes.
Many people have donated to Right Side Broadcasting Network over the years, and we thank you for doing that. So all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801 as we continue to grow here at this network. And it'll be great to interview and to see Christina Loren and Ashley Brassfield, who will be joining our coverage tomorrow through some interviews as we continue to grow at the network.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time to get out there. We want to take you outside the Beltway as well to see what's going on, perhaps in your neck of the woods. So we appreciate your support here at the network. rsbnetwork.com/donate, or you can text right there, RSBN, to 801-801. We know it's hard right now financially, with inflation, but this administration tackling it every single day. And I'm sure that might be a highlight in the speech as well tomorrow, about those initiatives to really see how it's affecting your wallet and your pocketbook, because that's a big reason why President Trump was elected again in the first place, to really solve these problems, these kitchen table issues for most Americans.
Exactly. So we're looking forward to seeing that speech tomorrow night. But of course, the announcement, whatever that announcement is.
Allah kıstıracağım ya. BPM. Melania Trump konuşacak. Melania. Bullshit, bro. This is bullshit, bro. Bloomberg'e falan mı bakalım ya? CNN'e mi baksak? Fox'u açalım. Fox'tan izleyelim. Okey. Burası güzele benziyor. Burayı paylaşmadık. Tamam. Melania. Melania Trump konuşma yapacak arkadaşlar. Stefan Türkheimer. Representative. Görüntü niye kasıyor lan bunlar? Birileri bu kadar mı geliyor? Okay. Çinliler komik ya. Baksana gelmiş oturuyor. Şuradaki Çinli ablamız komik. Melania Kral geldi. Geliyor musun? Melania Kral, hadi bakalım. Keyifler yerinde ya. Para bak. Piyasa biraz yeşil açtı. 15 dakikaya alalım. Oturur oturmaz düştü piyasa.
Well, welcome everybody. And I want to start by thanking the First Lady for joining us today. And thank you for your support of this incredibly important legislation, the Take It Down Act, which has already passed the Senate unanimously. And I am hopeful that the House will soon take it up and pass it and put it on the president's desk to be signed into law to protect young boys and all of those who are being victimized across the country. I also want to thank our brave victims and victim advocates who are here. Elliston Berry, Francesca Mani, Brandon Guffey, and Breeze Liu. Thank you for being here. Each of you have endured the unspeakable, and your courage standing up and speaking for others is really remarkable. I also want to thank Stefan Turkheimer with RAIN for your advocacy and support on this issue as well. Thank you for your leadership. And of course, I want to thank Senator Klobuchar, who is the lead Democrat sponsor in the Senate, and Representative Salazar and Representative Dean, who are the lead sponsors in the House, who've worked alongside in this important bipartisan legislation. If you're a victim of revenge porn or AI-generated explicit imagery, your life changes forever. Most likely, you've been targeted by someone you know, and you're likely struggling to have that material removed from the internet. Disturbingly, many of these victims are teenagers at American high schools who are facing a surge in AI-generated sexual images. Hundreds of teens, often targeted by their own classmates, are enduring senseless psychological harm, knowing that these fake images exist and they're still out there. And in many cases, there's no recourse for these teenage victims. But this issue extends beyond high school. There are thousands of cases where predators have used non-consensual intimate images to extort victims, both sexually and financially. And the results can be even more traumatic than financial loss, as we'll hear today. In dozens of instances, parents and siblings have suffered unbearable pain, having lost their child or their brother or their sister to suicide because the victim felt there was no way out from sextortion. Outside of high school, many adults are also dealing with the very real and dire consequences of having their sexually explicit images shared online without their consent. I have heard from victims of sexual abuse, of rape, of human trafficking, who strongly support the Take It Down Act because they desperately want some of the most traumatic moments of their lives taken off the internet. The Take It Down Act empowers victims across the entire United States. It makes it a felony for these deviants to publish any non-consensual